Hey everybody, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is Kristian Harloff.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Collider Movie Talk. We are very excited. A very cool panel today.
Also here, it's John Rocha.
Hey guys, I'm a little down with some of the news we got this morning, but I'm here to talk movies, so hopefully it'll pick my spirits up by the time we're done here.
And please welcome Whitney Moore.
Hey y'all, thank you for having me on this extremely sad day.
I know, it's true.
I'm very sad, but we're going to power through it and not try to talk about Prince this whole time.
I know, yeah. So as Whitney mentioned, it was very sad. We saw these great stories that we were going to talk about today, and then came the news that the legend Prince had passed away. Wow. Man, this was horrible to hear. It's always horrible to hear when anyone passes away, but Prince meant so much and is an icon. I mean, it was funny because I was mentioning to you, Whitney, off camera, that I was driving the other day and this random song, Raspberry Beret, came in, and my daughter is 4.5. Is in the back and just starts like jamming out. She's like, "Who's this, Dada?" I'm like, "This is Prince," and she's like, "I like Prince." I was like, "That's awesome."
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, she gets to listen now, but it's just the fact that he this was horrible. And the flu.
Yeah.
You hear this news, what happens?
Just complete and utter sadness, man, because I heard it driving in today, 57 years old. They said he was fine. He'd performed right after they had diagnosed him with pneumonia. He came, did a show, and I had gone to see him when he did the shows at the Forum when they were $25 a ticket, and he was doing like multiple nights in a row and all these guests. It is one of the most amazing nights I've ever had, and seeing him live, the man gave everything to the audience, and he was himself. At the end, he's riding around on a bicycle around the stage while everyone else is playing because he's just having a good time with everybody.
Such
a great
to
spirit.
See him.
Yeah.
Performer. Whitney, how about you?
Well, you know what? It's strange that I get to come and be a guest on Movie Talk today because I feel like Prince, obviously he was so influential in the music scene, but also in movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love for the DC universe to get back to a kind of goofy, fun movie where they can have Prince do a soundtrack. Unfortunately, we don't get that anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But that, if anybody hasn't heard the Batman soundtrack that Prince did, it's fantastic.
Bat Dance.
Yeah, it's kind of wistful, We lost a lot of good ones this year.
Yeah, we really did. And you mentioned obviously the Batman soundtrack, and you look at Purple Rain and just movies he's done in the past. He's just been that guy that he's been a inspiration to many people, whether it be filmmakers or just performers in general. So we lost the legend. Sinead, were you a big Prince fan?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty young, but
but still, that's the thing.
My memories of Prince really stem from my parents. They are diehard Prince fans. So I called my mom this morning just to make sure that she'd heard the news. But like we used to listen to it all the time. My parents would throw parties and it was always playing. They love him.
Well, we're going to be hearing a lot of his songs over the next couple of months, years, and I'm glad also because we get to remember what he was for our culture. So rest in peace, Prince. Very sad day, and also as a wrestling fan, we also lost Chyna. It was also announced last night that she had passed away too. So not pretty sad. So we're going to try to now get a little bit happier as we move into the movie news. Sinead, something else dropped. There was something that just broke from Variety, this is very, very brief, is that Robert Downey Jr. has announced, they announced that Robert Downey Jr. is indeed going to be in Spider-Man Homecoming, which I'm not going to spoil Civil War, but I will say that this makes sense. This makes sense to me that he would be the one, because we talked about this on Mailbag. The question came in, like if they were going to, because Kevin Feige said you'll see some characters pop in, and someone had asked who we thought, and I said Iron Man, and I think Dennis as well said it makes sense that Tony Stark would be the guy. So I love that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be in this movie. Whitney, how do you feel about it?
Can't get enough of him. I love that guy. I want to see him in every movie, especially as Iron Man. I want him to be an Iron Man in Barbershop or in like any movie. I will go see it if he's in it.
Great.
But especially the Jungle Book.
Especially, oh my God, Iron Man in the Jungle Book, amazing.
But Rocha, do you think because Tony Stark is going to be in this, he's able to further the story more? Is it a good move for Marvel? Because Spider-Man has had their bumps as far as the Sony days go, but now everyone's raving about what Spider-Man's doing in Civil War, and now he's going to get this standalone film. Is putting Tony Stark a good idea, or is it going to overshadow Peter Parker?
No, I think it's a really good idea. I actually watched the last hour of Ultron this morning, just because I was waking up and it was on. I just wanted, and some of the best scenes are Robert Downey Jr. with Chris Evans, because they have real rapport. And I think what he does is he brings out the best with any actor he's in a scene with. And I think if you're going to pick one person to shepherd a new character through the Marvel Universe, Robert Downey Jr. is the right choice, especially as Iron Man, especially with all the personality and charm and the jokes, because Spider-Man also has that kind of personality in comic books. He has the sarcasm, he has the little jokes, and I think they'd work well together, and it brings the film up, it makes it more interesting.
So right. He's such a generous actor. Yeah. You can see that in scenes. He gives so much to the other guys, and it's just so fun to watch.
While still doing his thing. He's still able to give so much, which is a real rare thing in an actor.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the story that's not in the sidebar over there. Sinead, what's in the sidebar, and what are we talking about today?
The first full trailer for Jason Bourne kicked its way online this morning, finally showing us Matt Damon's Jason Bourne back in action. The movie sees the return of Damon and his director Paul Greengrass, who both took a movie off after the Bourne Ultimatum, while Universal tried the Bourne Legacy. Julia Stiles also reprises her role in the series, alongside newcomers Alicia Vikander, Vincent Cassel, and Tommy Lee Jones. Jason Bourne arrives in theaters July 29th, 2016. Kristian, what do you think of the new trailer for Jason Bourne?
Terrible. Oh wait, I was watching an old Pauly Shore trailer. It's awesome. It's really great, and it gets back. We're back to that feel of what Jason Bourne and the Bourne franchise should be. And nothing against Jeremy Renner. It just didn't fit. It didn't work, that last one. It's a fine movie for what it was, but it just didn't feel like a Bourne film. Paul Greengrass wasn't back. Matt Damon, who plays Bourne, wasn't back. Mentioned, sure, but this trailer. And it's funny because my wife, who, every time I'm watching trailers at night, she's like, you have to watch it. Go in the living room. I'm trying to go to sleep. Last night, she's like, what trailer is that? She's like, wait, Jason Bourne's a new movie coming out? We sat there, we locked on it. It's a movie that I feel that they're not playing on the same thing of, he can't remember anything anymore. He knows who he is. They make it clear. And you have the old school people that are back with Julia Stiles, but then you have Alicia Vikander, are you kidding me? She's like one of the best out there right now. And then putting in cranky Tommy Lee Jones, I love anytime you put him in anything. So I loved this trailer. I was jazzed to see it before. I'm even more pumped now. Rocha, did you like it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it looks great. It's going back to the source material, like you were mentioning. Tommy Lee Jones is an awesome addition. I think you needed someone to take the place of David Strathair and Joan Allen. You wanted someone who's a little more in charge of stuff, and Tommy Lee seems to be sliding into this more and more as we see him in films. But I also think it's a nice little change that they're actually going to work with Jason Bourne in this one, it seems like, through the trailer, because in the past movies, they've always been against him, don't want him to find out the truth. And we get Julia Stiles coming back, which is kind of half and half, and because she's like, we'll see how she's kind of in the trailer, but we don't know exactly what she's going to do, and it seems like she might be taken out, so we don't know. So we've got a lot of like unknown questions going in, so it's exciting for me. And it's Matt Damon, and that scene when he knocks that dude out in one punch,
shot,
so
brilliant. That sound effect also. Whitney, what'd you think?
Oh, I loved it. I love that franchise. I really didn't like the last movie, so I'm super excited for Paul Greengrass and Matt Damon to come back. I love Tommy Lee Jones so much, and I'm pumped. And I also was noticing, watching the trailer, I feel like every Bourne trailer has somebody going, oh my God, it's Jason Bourne in every single one. Like, they don't know.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. I think it's going to be great.
Sinead, did you get a chance to check out the trailer?
I did, and I love Jason Bourne so much. I was telling Dennis, I am so excited. This movie I got into with my dad when it first came out, and he begged me to watch it with him because he had already seen it. He was like, you're going to love this. I love Jason Bourne. Didn't really like the last one. But you know what? I'm super excited to see Matt Damon return. It's going to be great.
It's like it's our version of James Bond. It really it's an Americanized version of James Bond, and I think that even with the last James Bond series, they said, it's got a little bit of Bourne in there. And I just love that was able to kind of transfer over, and it's this iconic character now. Like, he really is. And the fact that there were so many rumors of whether or not he was going to come back, and he always said the only way he would come back is if Greengrass came back, and he's back. So sign me up. Can't wait. How about you guys? Did you love the trailer? What did you think? Comment. We will be looking at those comments as we talk about our next topic, which is...
As Captain America Civil War readies its debut in just about 2 weeks, Marvel fans are already looking ahead to the massive culmination of Phase 3 that will see a 2-part Avengers movie in Infinity War, finally introducing the biggest baddie of them all, Thanos. Directors Joe and Anthony Russo have promised the scale will be much larger than previous films, and that's because of the grand entrance of Thanos. But how much will we see of the villain villain played by Josh Brolin. The screenwriters of the movie, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, have promised Thanos will be getting plenty of screen time, with McFeely telling the Huffington Post, Thanos, it's easy. Really giving him good scenes, you know? He's never been the villain in any of the movies. He's never been the main character in that way, so giving lots of good screen time to Thanos is paramount and pretty fun. Having seen Thanos at the end of both Avengers movies, Christopher Marcus talked building Thanos' anticipation, saying, there's an aspect of, you know, people know what's coming. So our challenge is how best are we going to handle this somewhat known quantity. But also, he's barely been touched on. He's at about 20 seconds of screen time. Whitney, thoughts on seeing a lot of Thanos in Avengers, Infinity War?
Woo! So pumped. I feel almost bad, but I don't, for the writers, because there's so much pressure. I mean, Thanos is one of the most used big baddies in Marvel, and he's got such a cool, weird, nihilistic, trippy space cadet storyline that is like so layered and like philosophical. And I know it's going to be tricky to try to handle, but I think that, I mean, I love Brolin, and I think he's a really great actor, and I just love how they're slowly petering out the universe and just like layering all of the fiction behind it. I think that they have a tough job because, like I said, it's a huge villain in the Marvel Comics universe. But, you know, I think it's to be expected because that's the next natural progression of where they would go with the villain. So I'm pumped. I did get one time an ex-boyfriend compared me to Thanos.
You're like, thanks, wait a minute.
I didn't get it because I was like, oh, Thanos is rad. But then I was like, wait, because, you know, his story is that he's in love with the personification of death, and which is super weird and cool. So I don't know what he was trying to say about himself, but at any rate, Thanos is super cool, and I'm excited about it.
This relationship to die, don't you?
The relationship is the Infinity Gauntlet, I guess.
Maybe.
I have no idea.
I'm with you, man. I am excited, super excited that he is going to be such a focus. I think it's more of a also because the way that they've set him up. But it's like, all right, you keep teasing Stone Cold Steve Austin, bring him out. I want to see him like stomping heads, you know. And Josh Brolin, you don't bring on Josh Brolin because you're going to give him a total of 2 minutes of screen time. You're going to give him, because look, I think that we're all in agreement. The majority of people out there are as well. With the exception of Loki, Marvel hasn't done villains well. And Red Skull, I think, was pretty good also. But the villains have been lackluster. This is being set up to where we're not going to have a lackluster villain. I hope that is indeed the case. He has been set up from the post-credit scene in the first Avengers to his role in Guardians of the Galaxy. But there's just little things like his little like smirks and just how vicious he is already. And I've already got that. So to see him in this capacity, who's not going to be excited? I mean, come on, this is going to be one of the best, hopefully, one of the best villains. And he's got it. The thing that I'm really hoping that happens is because we know what he's done in the comics. Let's deliver.
Yeah.
Let's make him like this is really an end to a lot of the maybe characters that we've been so accustomed to since all the way from Phase 1. He's got to really cause some damage. And I hope that that's also why they're setting him up and what they're setting him up to do. Rocha, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, I echo that sentiment. Also, I don't know your ex-boyfriend, but I can kind of echo that sentiment a little bit too. But I love that it's called Infinity War. So logically, you got to have Thanos because of the Infinity Gauntlet. He's always constantly in pursuit of this thing. And I love the way they presented him. And he's the one villain that's crossed over almost every single phase in Marvel's rollouts. And so to me, that needs to be treated with so much reverence and importance and have it portrayed correctly. And I think what they've done with Brolin, with the animation, with the CG, with the sounds, it almost feels like when he moves, it feels like concrete blocks moving, because that is this kind of power you are dealing with. And so now to finally, after seeing him in little scenes here and there through movies, we finally get full scenes, full rollouts, full everything with him. I couldn't be more excited, and it's the perfect place to put him in. Because they've set up this huge, all these teams and this stuff. So that's the kind of power you need to come against Thanos with to be able to win.
A lot of comments that people are very excited to see Thanos, and everyone's excited to see him. Think he's going to cause some damage. And then a really great comment from Thero Unification who says Bespin. Okay, what's next?
Wait, you know who would have made a great Thanos? Prince.
Oh,
poor Prince.
Missed our chance.
I know. All right, what's next?
What an interesting Thanos, wouldn't it?
He's purple, you know.
The Hollywood Foreign Press Association announced yesterday a couple of rule changes for their next awards, with one in particular appearing to be the direct result of the backlash aimed at this year's winner for Best Comedy or Musical in The Martian. In an article posted by Entertainment Weekly, the new HFPA guideline says that all dramas with comedic overtones should be entered as dramas. The Martian's placement in the comedy or musical category drew criticism from audiences and Hollywood professionals alike, with comedy director Judd Apatow being the most vocal. The rule goes into effect in time for next year's Golden Globes that will be handed out on January 8th. Hi, I can't talk today. January 8th, 2017. Rocha, what do you think of the new rule in the comedy musical category at the Golden Globes?
I think it's a great change. I think it's a smart change. I think they heard the public, they heard the outcry, and what a shock. Judd Apatow is one of the most vocal cries. If we remember the Bill Cosby saga, he's not shy in his opinions, and I think a lot of people felt that way, and it became a running joke throughout the ceremony. And whatever you feel about the Golden Globes, and a lot of people feel they're lesser than the Oscars and just a good time to get together and what have you, they still value their awards, and they have to not be made fun of. So it's a smart move. My concern is where do you draw that line? Like, how many jokes constitutes a comedy versus drama? How many dramatic scenes? Like, where's the balance? That's where I worry about. It's a bit nebulous what they're talking about, because every drama has some kind of comic relief within it. I mean, all of Shakespeare's dramas and tragedies have extensive scenes of comic relief to give you a balance, so you don't go completely mental. Yeah. And so that's my worry, is where they're going to draw the line. It still leads it to a possibility where people are going to have issues with it, but I think it's a positive step forward.
I agree 100%. Look, let's get to how they're going to deal with all of it later. Yeah. Just deal with it, because it was ridiculous that everyone's like, that's not a comedy. There's a couple comedic lines. The movie was not a comedy. They just wanted to get Matt Damon nominated and people there and Ridley Scott there, and it's like it was such a political, like, just fart fest, to be honest with you. It made no sense for why they do it. They do it all the time, and it needed to stop. And because enough people and big voices were screaming out, they finally made a change. It's good to see that they were listening and they didn't say, well, we're going to do whatever we want with foreign press and we're just drunk anyway, it doesn't matter. They stopped with that, and now they're going to actually listen. I think it's a great move. It's going to be, leaps and bounds as far as how they're going to do it. I think that we're going to be excited when the actual categories are announced next year, because I still think Trainwreck should have won comedy last year. I have been very vocal in the fact that I'm not a big Amy Schumer fan, but I think it was written very well. I think it was directed very well. I think out of the comedies that were out there, it was clearly the best, and it was shafted because The Martian was a comedy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
I loved Trainwreck.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. And I loved Apatow's tweet. He was like, that's a punk move. And it really is, because it's operated out of fear. Like you were saying, they just wanted to get Damon nominated. And that's so shitty, because it's like there's so much respect to be had for comedy. And as someone who comedy is my jam, I think that it's one of my favorite things out there, and I think that it gets shafted a lot in movies because it's not taken seriously as an art form. And so, and like you were saying, it is sort of nebulous, because I think any good drama and any good comedy has elements of both. So unless it's like a Todd Solondz film where it's like happiness, it's like I don't know whether to call that a comedy or a drama, but either way, it has to skew one way or another. And The Martian was nowhere near maybe a comedy. It was like, okay, it had funny lines in it, but yeah, I am happy that they made the right decision.
Yeah. Now, if only the Oscars could correct whatever formula they used to leave out Sicario and Ex Machina in the Best Picture category, I'd be happy. I'd be all in favor of that.
The way that they fix that is you just go back to just put in 10 categories, but the Oscars don't have that problem. The problem the Oscars have is put a category for Best Comedy.
Yeah,
what are you
Agreed.
doing? They
Agreed.
need that's
Yeah.
absolutely
Agreed.
a category that they need to do next.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for Buy or Sell. Sinead's going to read some more of the stuff happening in the world of the movie news, and myself, Whitney, and Mr. Rocha are going to either buy or sell, and you guys will too. All right, what's next?
Back a couple of months, it was reported that Blade Runner 2 was getting the questionable release date of January 12, 2018, to debut the long-awaited sequel that would see the return of Harrison Ford's Rick Deckard, along with the new co-star in Ryan Gosling. With January deemed the dumping ground for movies, it seemed like Blade Runner 2 would be buried before it even got a chance to find its audience. But now it looks like Alcon Entertainment has remedied that problem, announcing yesterday that we will move the release date to a more audience-friendly October 6, 2018. 2017. However, this now puts it opening up against an untitled Fox Marvel film, rumored to be Gambit, and an untitled WV event film. Without knowing exactly the competition that it faces, chances are Blade Runner 2 will do just fine with the new date of release. Kristian, do you buy or sell the new release date for Blade Runner 2?
Yeah, I buy it. January is a toilet bowl. Get it out of there. It's like, I mean, to me, it's screaming you didn't have much confidence in it, and they were trying to build some, I don't know, some juice for January, and because you spend all your money marketing in the summertime, you spend all your money marketing Oscar films, and you stay away from the January. That's why a lot of the low-budget horror films come out, and movies that kind of hit the dumping ground. And Blade Runner 2 certainly shouldn't be in there. So by putting it in October, I think it's a perfect release to do that. But now, whether or not, I don't think it's going to be Gambit. I just don't think Gambit's going to happen. Whether or not I don't know when the release for Deadpool 2 is coming out, and I don't know if there's other movies that they have lined up. Do I think that will hurt it? I mean, sure, a little bit. If it's a Fox property, in the X-Men universe, it'll hurt it a little bit. But I also think that you have a Ryan Gosling and you have the director who has really kind of, Villeneuve has knocked it out of the park recently, and Gosling. I think that you could really do some special stuff. My problem, though, overall, is Alcon Entertainment, who is responsible for some of the biggest blunders in the last couple years. Look what they do with Point Break, and I've mentioned it many times. Point Break, people don't realize this. Like, it's listed as like it cost $100 million to make it. It cost almost $200 million. That's without the marketing, by the way, too. They're just kind of keeping that under wraps. But it bombed. It bombed hard. The decision making over there has been terrible. So I'm wondering what's going to happen if that continues into Blade Runner 2. Whitney, do you buy or sell this move?
Hell yeah, I buy it. I think it's awesome. And you know what? I wonder if their thought for putting it initially in sort of a crappy release date was that they were like, oh, it's already an existing property that people like, and so they'll see it no matter what. But like you were saying, there's no chance it would definitely get buried. And I'm so excited to see Ryan Gosling in this movie. I think it's awesome, and sci-fi is my jam, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it makes sense also because I think that if you have you're also moving into 2017. What happened?
I was going to say, we got to find out what genre isn't Whitney's jam at this point.
I know.
Comedy, sci-fi.
Comedy, sci-fi,
drama.
A sci-fi comedy would be a jam.
Romantic comedies, yeah.
But
Period
moving, also,
pieces,
the other thing to be discussed is that now it comes out next year.
Yeah.
You excited about this date?
Oh, I couldn't be more excited about the day. I think I was on Movie Talk when they announced that it was going to be coming out in January, and I said this might be a thing that they're doing, like a trial balloon, to see people's reactions. And I mean, people went nuts because people want to see the sequel. Harrison Ford is coming back, isn't he? In a smaller part?
He's coming back. I thought he was coming back.
Is he going to be the main guy?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, I wonder how they're going to share the screen with Gosling and Harrison, but it'll probably
look what he's doing with
Crow.
Crow. I mean, he's doing Crow in The Nice Guys.
Yeah. So to me, like, how are you not? This is whatever you put up against it, it's gonna do just fine because it's a Blade Runner film. People love this film. I mean, people are a big fan of Gosling. People are a big fan of Harrison Ford. You could put in a WB. I mean, DC kind of is like non grata a little bit right now. So it's like it's a smart move now to kind of put your flag in that place just for now, and then see how people react around it.
Yeah.
Were you like, were you 5 when this came out, or like
Blade Runner?
Were you an embryo? Like, when did this come out?
Non-existent.
No,
yeah.
No way.
Glint in your dad's eye.
85?
Oh yeah, it was 82. Yeah, it's definitely
82.
non-existent.
Yeah.
Maybe it is 85.
I was born in 92.
Wow.
It was 1982. All right, what's next?
THR is reporting that New Line is currently in negotiations to pick up the rights to the 70s, 80s TV sitcom Three's Company, with He's Just Not That Into screenwriters Abby Cohn and Mark Silverstein writing up the adaptation. Sources for THR reveals they plan to set the movie in the 70s with veteran producer Robert Court shepherding the project. Three's Company won 2 Golden Globes over its run from 1977 to 1984 and starred John Ritter, pretending to be gay so he could move in with 2 women roommates played by Joyce DeWitt and Suzanne Summers. No actors or a release date have been set. Whitney, do you buy or sell a movie adaptation of Three's Company?
Awesome.
I don't know. Maybe it's too early to tell. It's so weird because it's such a weird choice because, I mean, first of all, we won't know what the tone is until they decide if it's going to be like meta or self-referential or sort of making fun of it or what. And so much of the comedy, I feel like, on that show relied on extremely dated jokes like gayness is hilarious or like blondes are dumb, like just really stuff that wouldn't work today. So I'm really wondering, I mean, I'm sure they'll do something cool with it, and I'll end up seeing it anyways. But to me, right now, it's just confusing.
Yeah. It scares me. I'm gonna sell it. Three's Company was one of my favorite sitcoms of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I love the show, and I still think that it's possible because I think it also plays off the Baywatch or what they're doing with Baywatch, and I think that there's a possibility this could be a really funny movie. And like you said, Whitney, it depends on who's cast, what the tone's like. The problem I have, again, and it's you go back, and I don't have the same problems with New Line that I do with Alcon, but I for New Line, if you go back to their comedies and the things that they've done recently, hasn't really worked. The stuff that they're putting together hasn't worked. That's not to say that they can pull it around and this time it's better, but he's just not into the movie was fine. It wasn't anything that really stands out. And so the screenwriters writing it, maybe they're like us and they're huge fans of the Three's Company property, and they find the right cast, that they get the good improv actors, the actors that work really well and know the property, and then the chemistry has to be off the charts for these roommates. And who are you going to get to play Jack Tripper? Are you kidding me? So I don't know. Right now I'm selling it. I'll wait for a trailer before I buy it.
Yeah, I'm selling it too. I'm kind of done with remakes of shows that I loved. I think if this was Lord and Miller, I'd have a lot more anticipation because they did such a great job with 22 Jump Street and 21 Jump Street. And the Lego Movie, like they're able to launch these franchises and make them and understand what people love about them, and yet make them relatable and topical to the audiences in 2015, 2016. Also, who can be Jack Tripper, and how do you update that storyline? What you brought up is a great idea. I mean, a great point. It's a whole idea is like, well, he's pretending to be gay. That's kind of not like a problem anymore, right? And my question is, are we going to see the Regal Beagle? Are we going to see the Regal Beagle. Are we going to see the Ropers, or is it going to be Furley?
Oh, that's good.
Will there be 3 different blondes who play Chrissy at 3 different times in the movie? Like, these are things that could possibly make it work because of what happened through the series if you're going to play around with it.
Right.
And almost every plot was a case of mistaken identity or mistaken understanding of something that's been said. And like, that's 1970s humor. Like, does that really work nowadays?
Right.
So for right now, I think I agree with you both. Like, I'm selling it. I think I got to see a trailer and I got to see who's cast, because the Baywatch thing you brought up is a great point, Kristian.
You don't see a lot of comedies of errors these days.
Yeah, right. Okay, what's next?
A new trailer has been released for The Infiltrator, starring Bryan Cranston, who jumps to the other side of the drug game as federal agent Robert Mazur, in the true story about his efforts to infiltrate one of the biggest drug trafficking rings of all time. The real Mazur spent 5 years undercover as a money launderer, learning the hierarchy of the drug underworld while gaining intel that would result in the indictments of 85 drug lords and their corrupt banks. The movie is based on the book by Mazur called The Infiltrator: My Secret Life Inside the Dirty Banks Behind Pablo Escobar's Medellin Cartel. Brad Furman directs, featuring Cranston, John Leguizamo, Diane Kruger, Amy Ryan, and Benjamin Bratt. And the film hits theaters on July 15th. John, did you buy or sell the trailer for The Infiltrator?
Well, I'm going to take Whitney's reaction a little bit like this, because I feel the same way about this, because this book is amazing. If you haven't read this book and you are into politics and the drug war and what happened during the 80s, and that was so much that was underneath that people didn't know about, you got to read this book. It's so it's heart-wrenching. It's like constantly gripping. It's so good. So I'm happy with the source material. My concern is the director. He did Runner, and the last thing he's credited with doing is directing Justin Bieber's video "What Do You Mean?" So I'm a little on the fence. And Lincoln Lawyer was really the only good thing he has on his resume, and that was a good B movie. It was not like really an A-list movie that did well at the box office and was revered. So I have concerns on that end. But Bryan Cranston keeps me coming back to the table. He's such a good actor. Trumbo wasn't the best film, but he was fantastic in it. So I would say that I'm buying it, but I'm keeping the receipt in case I need to return it. That's what I would say.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm buying it and I'm keeping the receipt. But the reason why I am almost selling it, because I actually disagree with you with the Lincoln Lawyer. I think that the Lincoln Lawyer was the whole reason the reconnaissance happened. Because if you watch that performance from him, that's when his career started going back on the up and up.
His performance was great.
But it was also because I thought I did like the
Okay.
film a lot. I actually thought the directing was really good. However, I agree with Runner was a piece of garbage.
Garbage.
But that guy's, he's 1 for 2. That's okay. Yeah. Let's see. The problem I had with the trailer was actually Benjamin Bratt. And it's nothing against the performance. It just seems like he's playing the drug lord in everything now. And he was just in that horrible, what was the Ride Along 2, where he was playing the same role but as in a comedy. And it's like, it took me out of it seeing him because he's playing the same thing over and over and over again. But Cranston, like you said, brings me back. I want to. It had like a bit of a blow. It felt like the fact that Escobar and seeing, like you said, the book. There's a lot that I want to see in this, and because of the performances of someone like even Donnie Brasco also, but to see what Cranston can bring to this role, I'm going to buy it, but I'm hesitant. Whitney?
First of all, I'd like to say I've never heard anybody say the McConaissance, and that's amazing.
That
is brilliant.
I can't take credit for that. That's been out there.
Initially, like reading about this movie, it's not something that I would run out and go see. It's not really my sort of movie.
Your jam?
Yeah, it's not really my jam. It's more of my butter. I don't know.
Yes.
But I will see it, like you guys said, just to see Bryan Cranston work. I don't really care about this director. I haven't seen his movies. I don't really care. I mean, you didn't really sell me on either of them.
I'm telling you,
This one,
Lincoln Lawyer
maybe
is
I'll
good.
see. Lincoln Lawyer. I heard good things, so maybe I'll see it. But the other thing is, I love John Leguizamo. He's one of my favorite actors, and to see him and Cranston play together is a dream for me. I'm so excited to see them too.
You know what Leguizamo was really good in recently? Actually, I didn't.
Leguizamo's great.
He's
not the problem I have.
No. And what I didn't love Sisters, but I thought he was good in that. But the movie that I really thought he was great in was Chef.
Yes.
He was great.
So great in
That
Chef.
movie is so good.
And did a nice part in John Wick. That small little part of his had a lot of weight to what he was doing. So the guy is great.
All right, now it is time for opening this week, brought to you by our friends over at AMC Theaters. Sinead, what is coming out this week?
A movie called Elvis and Nixon. In December 1970, rock and roll icon Elvis Presley, played by Michael Shannon, travels to the White House to request a meeting with President Richard Nixon, played by Kevin Spacey. The untold true story behind the meeting resulted in the most requested photograph in the National Archives.
Cool.
I didn't love the trailers for this movie, but I am actually excited to see the movie because you said Michael Shannon and you said Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey is one of the best impressionists, by the way, that you're ever going to see, but I don't think this is going to be an impression of Nixon. It's going to be his interpretation of who the man was. And the same can be said for Michael Shannon. Like, it's very easy to either fall into an impression of Richard Nixon or an impression of Elvis Presley to see what these great actors are going to do for this historical moment. I'm definitely very interested.
I couldn't be more interested. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, ever since I saw the teaser trailer. Because this actually happened. Elvis got so, I don't want to say, allegedly got so drugged up, he thought it was a good idea to try and get a DEA badge from Nixon, set up the meeting, and they actually went through with it. And this is a time because Nixon was suffering so hard in the public polls at the time because of Vietnam and domestic troubles at home. He took the meeting as a way to kind of connect with the young kids. And so it was a whole thing.
You bailed on the impression. You're almost there. You bailed on it.
I do it from Hopkins.
Right.
So bunny. So this whole thing is like, to me, I couldn't be more. Plus, you got Michael Shannon, like you said, you got Kevin Spacey, and they're going to do their versions, and I think they're all in on the joke, which is what the trailer shows me. So I'm going to go have a good time, use my AMC Movie Pass, and enjoy watching this film. So I couldn't be more excited. Actual event. It looks like they all understand what they're doing instead of trying to make it important, and it just looks like a fun time to me. I couldn't be more excited.
Hell yeah, I am so into it. And just echoing what you guys were saying about how both of these characters are so easy to fall into a trap of imitation, and if you had lesser actors, that might be what we would see, and it wouldn't be a good movie. But I have a feeling, like you guys were saying, that they'll do their own interpretation to make it not too sing-songy and not too
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. And so I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be great. What's not to love?
Okay, now we're going to get to mailbag, but before we do, I mentioned yesterday, obviously, that Finstock versus Schnepp. It goes down tomorrow in the movie trivia Schmodown. Get ready. It's going to be a huge one. Sitting next to me was a former possibly ranked contender who's on his way back. You got a big match coming up pretty soon.
I do.
The next month and a half. Who do you got?
The match coming up, or this match?
No, your match. I want to talk about your match.
All right, well, I got Makuga. It's time, buddy. You can put away all the nice pastel pants, put away all the little jokes and the innuendos. You could even bring your pretty little girlfriend around. She can watch you get destroyed.
Whoa.
I'm going to tear you to pieces. There's going to be nothing left of you. There's a reason why you're a second co-host to me, who's the host on The Walking Dead.
Wow.
There's a reason.
Look at
Long
that.
spears,
Damn.
long spears can only take you so far
Oh, my
to
God.
logic, and logic always destroys cute little jokes.
Oh.
So I'm telling you right now, Makuga, get it ready. Get it going. Shave, don't shave, irrelevant to me. Wear all the suits. Wear the mustache suit. Wear whatever you want. Whatever you want to be buried in, wear that suit. Because that's how you're going out.
Please,
Them's
please.
fighting words.
Oh my God! Please tweet to McCougan and tell him he just got thrown under every bus that is driving right now. That was amazing.
I love all
Thank-
the wardrobe and stuff.
That was really.
Have you seen these things? Good God.
Okay, well that's gonna happen. All right, real quick, who wins tomorrow between Finstock and Schnepp?
Oh, come on. It's got to be Schnepp. Schnepp's going to kill him. It's going to be a knockout.
Knockout.
There's no way Finstock even gets a word out.
Finstock or Schnepp? Who do you got?
It's got to be Schnepp.
Yeah.
You don't? Do you know? You know
I don't know
Schnepp?
Finstock, but I know Schnepp, and he's my dude, so
Okay.
I'm going to say Schnepp.
Yeah, I say Schnepp by knockout. How about you guys? Go ahead and comment. And we like to hear your opinions, not just on this matter, but in everything in general. That's why you send in mailbag questions to collidervideo@gmail.com. Yesterday, I made a little bit of an announcement that we're trying to get a wider selection of questions from you guys. And you did it, by the way. There were so many new questions coming about all different parts of film. That's what we want. If you want to ask a Marvel question, sure. DC question, sure. Star Wars, sure. But how about some more stuff? That's what we want also, because we want to be able to cover everything in the world of film, whether it be on this show or on Mailbag on Saturday and Sunday. So please go to collidervideo@gmail.com and keep sending in those great questions. There's some today. That's what it is today. It's today. So let's get into today's. On this day, we have an email question from somebody. What is somebody asking?
On this day, the email question comes from Jerome Ferguson, and he writes, "What's up, Collider crew? My question is for Kristian. I heard your story about the He-Man movie that Justin Marks wrote. Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars is a great way to describe what Masters of the Universe needs to be. If you would have produced it, who would you have hired to direct and star as He-Man back then? How about now? Thanks for the great show."
Well, thank you for the question. At the time when we were talking about it, I always thought, because I wanted to see like kind of a Peter Jackson version of it, to where it would more Lord of the Rings than Hobbit. But I always thought that fantasy meets sci-fi is what Masters of the Universe should have been, because I always referenced the 2002 series more so than the 80s series, because that's kind of the vibe that we were going for when we brought it to Silver Pictures and to Warner Brothers. It's kind of that magic meets science thing. Who would I have starring it at the time? I don't know. Now I definitely could see Hemsworth for sure, but I think if I was going to have somebody direct it today, it would be George Miller. I think George Miller would be a great person to go into that mythology, because again, I've met the man. McGee is a super nice guy. He is all wrong to direct this movie. He's all wrong. It's a paycheck. It's not something he's passionate about. It's not something that's going to. It's just someone will say, "Oh, look, it's a He-Man movie," and then that's it. That's all that's going to happen. There's a mythology there that could spawn movie after movie after movie, and I just don't see it happening with McGee. So we'll see what happens. Rocha, who could you see doing a fantasy sci-fi version of Masters of the Universe?
I think James Gunn is the right choice. After what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, he was able to make it work. And a lot of people aren't that familiar, I think, nowadays with the He-Man stuff, because the cartoon is still on, but it's not as big, I don't think, as it used to be. What it was when we were growing up as kids and watching it on Saturday morning cartoons or whatever, or Saturday afternoons, whatever worked. And so I'd be a big fan of James Gunn. Back then, Spielberg would have killed it, I think, back in the 80s, or I would have loved to have seen Martin Scorsese's version of the He-Man universe.
He would have murdered everyone.
Been awesome. Just to see what he would have done with all those people. You know, it would have been a blast.
Is that effing cat yours? How about for you? Who do you think could have
Skeletor.
As someone who is maybe coming from a couple years after He-Man really hit its stride in the 80s, I didn't really get to see it. I didn't really view it as something to be taken seriously. Right. And so in my mind, it's an Edgar Wright movie, and Dolph Ziggler is He-Man.
Ziggler.
Yeah.
Ziggles.
They got to have another Dolph.
Yes, but that's the thing though. That was the problem that we had when we were pitching it. That was the problem that we had
to find a star.
When you see the 80s the cartoon, you can take it as very goofy and silly. And then that's what I thought. But there were elements of that fantasy kind of, like I said, Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings. It was in there a little bit. It was the 2002 series that you got that. That's
so sick.
Because when it was introduced as a cartoon comic book originally, it was before the series, and it was more like a Conan the Barbarian type thing. And then they introduced the sword of Eternia and just the sorcerer and all this stuff. There's so much that I'm convinced that it could be a blockbuster, huge franchise. I just don't think we're going to see it now. But
if they make it a serious action movie, then I really, really hope they fully embrace how metal it is and just get some like Rhapsody or like really cool fantasy metal bands on the soundtrack, which will never happen. But in my brain, I'm like, awesome fantasy metal happening in space.
Okay, what is next?
Daniel Morgan writes, "Hi guys, my question is, what are your favorite improvised scenes in movie history? Mine has to be Heath Ledger as the Joker, clapping when Commissioner Gordon gets a promotion. It perfectly sums up his character. What are yours? Keep up all the great stuff you're doing and loving these schmodowns."
Oh, nice. I would have to go with I Love You, I Know. Harrison Ford is coming up with that scene alone is great, and anything that Rodney Dangerfield did in Caddyshack. So those are the ones for me that I would pick. How about yourself?
Indiana Jones and Raiders, just shooting the guy. Just because that's such a baller move as an actor, being like, I feel tired.
He was sick.
He was sick.
Yeah,
he was like,
sick,
I'm not like, I'm sniffly, so I'm just going to shoot this guy.
Yeah, can I shoot him? Yeah, sure, why not?
I mean, my two are Jaws, when Roy Scheider says, we're going to need a bigger boat. That was improvised, which is awesome. And I love the end of Blade Runner when Rutger Hauer, Roy Batty, says, like tears, all these memories will be lost like tears in the rain. Like Tears in the Rain was an improvised moment.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
That's such a great thing to add. And kind of a little bit, too, is the Joe Pesci. That was instigated by Scorsese. Ray Liotta did not know Pesci was going to go nuts about him calling him a funny guy. That was kind of half improvised. So to me, that deserves conversation.
There's some great ones in the chat room. Francis Neeson says Leo with his bloody hand in Django.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a really good one.
From the skull, yeah.
I'm not going to read that name, but De Niro in Taxi Driver is a good one for sure. I like I'm Walking Here. Another one, too. Let's see some other ones. Doc Holliday. I guess there's a lot of stuff from Doc Holliday in Tombstone. Yeah. Where else? So there's, they already said that one.
Apparently,
Usual Suspects, I guess there was a few, but I don't remember which one it was.
Apparently, half of Arlie Ermey's dialogue in Full Metal Jacket as the drill sergeant was all because he was an actual drill sergeant for 22 years.
Right. Yeah. Sam Kinison in Back to School is a great one, by the way. Good Will Hunting. Robin Williams in a he had there was which was the one I think it was the Carlton Fist thing. Get out, get out! All that stuff was he was so amazing.
And the rumor is Private Ryan that Matt Damon made up that whole story about his brothers before they went to the big battle.
Oh wow! So that's
I heard that Prince improvised all of Purple Rain.
Sinead,
bring it back to
do you got any?
Well, actually, I just interviewed Tim Miller and Simon Kinberg, and they said that so much of Deadpool was just Ryan Reynolds showing up and like just spitting things out, and some of it stuck and some of it didn't. But I had no idea that I knew he was funny, but I didn't know he was that witty. And they said they got so much material to work with because he'd be like, let's just do this, and he would just spit jokes left and right, and they were like dying laughing on set.
I could see that.
Okay, so that's everything from Mailbag. Again, please go to collidervideo@gmail.com and submit those questions. Now it's time for the tweets. You guys have been tweeting out Collider at Collider Video. Sinead has been going through them and picking out the best ones. Sinead, what are they saying out there?
Brad tweets, so Iron Man in Spider-Man Homecoming, is that not a spoiler for Civil War then?
Not really. I mean, unless you really, I don't want to get too much into it. No, all I say is it's not really a spoiler because all I can say is you don't know what happens in Civil War. You don't know what time period Spider-Man's going to be. You don't know a lot of stuff. So, no, it's not a spoiler.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Rashad tweets, any news on the Elton John biopic starring Tom Hardy? Is the movie even still happening?
What?
Whoa.
You ever heard about that?
I've not heard this.
Dude, yeah, man. Yeah. That's been in talks for a long time.
A long time. I remember covering that on Movie Talk months and months ago.
A year ago, easily. But I
With
know.
Tom Hardy?
Yeah, Tom
It sounds incredible, but we just haven't gotten much on it.
No, there hasn't been much at all. It's a role that he'll be able to knock out of the park.
Yeah.
Sure.
In fact, I think the last time we talked about it was on Movie Talk.
Really? Hey, Riley, will you look up if there's any news happening with that Elton John, Tom Hardy? Okay, cool. So Riley will be on that right now, and then we will find out. All right, what's next?
Whitney and I are flabbergasted.
Jose tweets, "Hi crew, isn't it now a good time for Universal to greenlit Hellboy since they really only have Hulk?"
I don't think we need another Hellboy. I think the first two were. I like the first two. I thought they were good, but I just don't necessarily think we need another one. Especially if Del Toro's not going to do it, or even if he is going to do it, it's like I don't know. I think it's like I said, we're a big fan of both. Actually, like the second one better than the first one. I love the first one. So I don't necessarily need to see it, but you disagree with me.
Well, no, and not passionate or anything. I just like the first one way better than the second one, and I would like to see in another version. And I don't want to see Del Toro's version. I like to see somebody else tackle this character. It's such a great character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got the Deadpool, this kind of appetite for these more fringe characters in the comic book universe. I think there's space for it here right now. We want to, especially in the wake of Batman vs Superman, I think people want to see fun, interesting characters in superhero films that are done well and with a little bit of humor but a lot of drama with their storylines. I think there's certainly stuff. Deadman is another one I'd love to see. Daredevil at some point to jump to the screen would be great.
Right.
So there's so much to explore there. So I think that it would be great to see
I
Hellboy.
absolutely agree. I think that when it came out was not the right time for it, and right now
Agreed.
with more comedy being seen in superhero movies and them taking it less seriously and just having more fun with it, which is what you should have, I think that I would love to see another movie, and I would love to see maybe not Del Toro do it, because I loved it, but there's so much that can be done, you know?
All right. What's next?
Conrad tweets, "How do you guys decide who gets to be on camera and sit at the cool kids table for the show?"
For example, Rocha's been embarrassing himself for a very long time, so
Yes.
we just finally let him
It's
come
true.
back. And
Thank
same
you.
thing with Riley. No, it's how we decide. I mean, there's schedules and there's set schedule. People are like I said, Mark will host on Mondays and Tuesdays, and he's usually on Wednesdays, and Schnepp's on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm on from usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and a lot of times Friday. And then we've been introducing a lot new guests a lot. And
I just sat outside the building for a really long time. Who is this girl? Okay, fine, she can come on.
Kirsten Dunst wants to be on the show. So it's like, so you have. You have all. It's just we're rotating people as well too, and we've also been doing something now especially for Schmodown. A lot of times the people who are going to be participating on Friday, we like to have them on the Thursday before. Now Schnepp's not here, and Finstock is Finstock, so there's just you never know what that guy's going to say on Movie Talk. So we decided he'll never be on the show. But we're going to be introducing a whole bunch of people. We'll be continuing on. We have a lot of new shows that we have people on to. It just depends. Yeah. But you've been on a lot more recently.
Yeah, it's been nice to come on. I enjoy coming on. It's nice to talk movies with you guys, so I'm always happy to come on. I have pictures of Harloff. That's your answer. That's really your answer.
That is very true. Okay, what is next?
Christopher tweets, "How can we as fans help smaller films get a wider release? I've been dying to see Midnight Special, but it's still not showing here."
Oh wow.
Okay, buddy, lick your chops. Go ahead.
I love Midnight Special. It's one of the best films that has come out recently.
I missed it. I didn't get a chance to see it.
No, it's so good. I think what you have to do is you have to organize a campaign and go to your local theater retailer. If you show that they can sell the tickets, it'll allow them to petition the studios to send a copy of the film down. It can't be that difficult, especially with digital stuff going on. So it all depends on what your theater does and what they're capable of doing technology-wise. So that's what I would say. Organize people, get people who are going to commit. You could even pre-sell tickets. People commit to pre-sell tickets like Kickstarter, GoFundMe, that kind of model, and then you would get people to come, and at that point, at least you would sell it out for a week. So people who'd want to see it could have the opportunity to see it at certain times, and the theater wouldn't have a problem paying the expense because they would make money off of it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Start a Facebook group. Get all of your friends interested, and then show your local theater that you have the numbers, like you were saying, to drive that sort of content. And it's so important. If you don't want to see more reboots, if you don't want to see more sequels, then be proactive, because you do have a say in what you get to see. And if you rally the troops, then you can get it.
Yeah. All right, let's do two more.
Jay Emerson tweets, "Are you sold on Disney's live action yet?"
For me, they're 2 for 4. So I'm on board. Yeah, I mean they were 0 for 2 in my opinion, and then they went 2 for 4. So I'm I think that this is a good trend. I'm really looking forward to Beauty and the Beast. I like the idea that they're doing Mulan. I think that they, I understand that people are, they're doing more Peter Pan. Why? I get it, but because they have just knocked out the last two, I want to see what their take is and how they kind of incorporate it to the animated version that they did and not necessarily the source material. So yeah, I'm definitely sold. How about yourself?
Well, you know who they cast as Mulan, right? Scarlett Johansson.
It makes sense. Or
She's going to be
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone,
yeah.
I like it. I like the idea. I mean, there's stories that I love growing up. I'd like to see them do more original stuff, of course, but Jungle Book was fantastic, so can't complain.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, same feeling. I saw Jungle Book a couple days ago. Cannot recommend that enough. And as a guy who's not the biggest fan of the animated version, so for me, it definitely hit it out of the park. Cinderella was surprisingly great. I don't know what a man at my age is doing watching that movie, but I so enjoyed it. I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed. What are the first two that they didn't do?
Alice in Wonderland was
Oh, well, it's getting a sequel.
And Maleficent to me was.
I didn't like Maleficent. I thought it didn't miss the mark. You're right on that.
It just was a different take. And there were some people who really liked Maleficent. My problem with Maleficent was, as where the Jungle Book and Cinderella took the property and the animated film and expanded on it.
Yeah.
Maleficent just changed the story completely. It's like it was just really. It's instead of an evil character finding out why she became evil, it was about a woman who had a really bad day.
Yeah.
And everyone else was evil but her.
Yeah.
In her mind.
The king so dopey and
And Alice in Wonderland was just like, hey, Tim Burton, put some stripes on things. Do your weird wackadoo thing.
and bring your mushrooms.
Yeah, bring your mushrooms.
Yeah.
That's one of those films that shocked me. It made so much money. Alice in Wonderland. I did really
It was the 3D
all the Johnny Depp movies.
because it was the first 3D movie after Avatar. I'm pretty sure the first and the 3D sales really jacked that movie
makes
up.
sense.
Okay, let's do one more.
Jonathan Peck tweets, which version of Blade Runner should I watch first before I see the sequel?
The original.
Not the director's cut.
Not the well, yes, as long as they keep the voiceover. Watch it as it was intended to be made by Ridley Scott. Harrison Ford is also a champion of the voiceover, so definitely watch it that way. Then go back, watch it without the voiceover. You'll still enjoy it, but watch the original because that way you can understand why the progression, the versions that came afterwards, and still appreciate the foundation of the original and have fun enjoying the different other versions. Always watch the original.
There you go. Oh, speaking of which, by the way, when we were talking about our improv scenes, speaking about Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones, I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
Oh, that was
improvised line, by the way.
Awesome.
And great. Riley, anything on the Tom Hardy?
I slacked it.
You did. And you said Elton John biopic is on hold because the execs behind it are afraid musical biopics are not performing well at the box office. Oh, wow. Okay, the news apparently came out in January of 2016. Thank you, Yodi. Okay, that's it. That's our show. I would like to thank our panel today. First, the outlaw, John Rocha. Where can they find you?
Hey, guys, you guys can always find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, on Instagram. See all the shows I'm hosting and all the shows I'm being a guest on, like this show, which I'm always happy to do. And follow me. I'm trying to get up there. I crossed 5,000 the other day. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Piece by piece. I'm getting up there.
And Whitney Moore, how about you? So thank you, by the way, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I had a
It was
great
pleasure.
time.
Good.
It was
I'm glad you
awesome.
did. Where can the good kids find you?
You can find me. I host a comic book show on Geek and Sundry's Twitch channel at 7 o'clock, I believe, on Tuesdays at twitch.tv/Geek and Sundry. I also tweet a lot about movies and comic books and things that I like, metal, at Tweetney Moore, and Instagram is Whitney S. Moore.
Sinead DeFries, besides TV Talk every Monday,
That's
great
right.
plug by me, where can they find you?
Well, I'll be hosting Movie Talk again tomorrow. Christian's right. I host Collider TV Talk every Monday with Makuga. And I'm really excited for him to see that. Actually, that was great. And you can find me online on Twitter and Instagram at Sinead DeFries and at that'ssosinead.com.
Couple cool things for you guys to be checking out on this channel. We have Mark Yodi Riley and the modest assassin himself, Dennis Zhang. They did a reaction to the Bourne trailer. That's up on the channel right now, so go and check that out, see what their thoughts were, and see if they match your thoughts. And we put the Return of the Jedi commentary up yesterday, so go and check all that stuff out. A lot of great stuff happening here on Collider. For me, you can find me at Kristian Harloff, Twitter and Instagram, and today on Collider Jedi Council, we have Ashley Eckstein, Ahsoka herself, and James Arnold Taylor, who played Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars. They are going to be on the show with myself, Tiffany, and Mark D2, Mark Ellis himself. So make sure you check that out. Thank you guys for joining us today. As always, make sure you comment, like, share this with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed already, you probably should.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.